Well, hello and welcome. This is Misheard from Misheard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're doing today episode 166, season 4, first ever Dexy's Midnight Runners Misheard Song Lyric. And the misheard song lyric is, "Come on, I need 2 raw eggs." And then the correct lyrics is, "Come on, Eileen Tellura. So, what is Tellura? It has to be some made-up word, or is it actually something? It's actually from an Irish lullaby. Turaloo-ra-loo-ra. I think I'm saying it right. It's a classic Irish-American song that was written back in 1913 by a composer by the name of James Roy Shannon for what they called the Tin Pan Alley musical Shamin Dhu. The original recording of the song by Chauncey Alcott peaked at #1 in the music charts. Did not know that. The song was brought back to popularity by Bing Crosby's performance in 1944's Going My Way. His actual single sold over 1 million copies and peaked at #4 on the Billboard music charts. So when you do a lot of searches on Tellura or Turalura, I guess, it's actually Irish for goodbye, I'll be seeing you again. So it's not about I need 2 raw eggs, it's goodbye, I'll see you again. All right, let's talk about On Eileen. Just saw it, or actually danced to it last night at a Halloween fun video dance event, and the video is iconic. The song is iconic, so let's just dig in. It's a song by English group Dexy's Midnight Runners, and it's credited to Dexy's Midnight Runners and the Emerald Express, is what the internet says. Released in the UK back in June of 1982. Yours truly was a mere 10 years old. As a single from their second album called Turae. There it is. Reached #1 in the US and was their second #1 hit in the UK, followed by 1980's Gino. The song was produced by Clive Langer and Alan Winstanley and was initially claimed to be written by Kevin Rowland, Jim Peterson, Billy Adams, although Rowland later stated the essence of the tune should be attributed to Kevin Archer. On Eileen, the song won Best British Single at the 1983 Brit Awards, and in 2015, the song was voted by the British public as the nation's 6th favorite 1980s #1 single in a poll for ITV. It was also ranked number 18 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs of the 80s and was Britain's best-selling single of 1982. Not bad, Dexy's Midnight Runner. So interesting, when you look at Dexy's Midnight Runner, there's no apostrophe after the Y to the S. It's just DEXYS. That's new to me. Currently officially Dexys, their former nickname styled without an apostrophe, like I said. They're an English pop band from Birmingham with soul influences who achieved major success in the early to mid-1980s. Of course, I mentioned earlier, they're known for their song that we're doing today, On Eileen, Gino, both which peaked at #1 on the UK singles chart, as well as 6 other top 20 singles. On Eileen also topped the US Billboard Hot 100, which was played a lot on MTV. That's how I remembered it as a youth. And they are associated with the second British invasion, which is AKA like the 80s invasion of all the British pop bands coming in. The original British invasion, of course, was in the 60s with the Beatles and so forth. So during the late 70s and early 80s, Dexy went through numerous changes in their band over their course of 3 albums and 13 singles, with only singer-songwriter co-founder Kevin Rowland remaining at the band through all the transitions, and only Rowland and Big Jim Patterson, who does the trombone, appeared on all the albums. Those are only the 2 mainstays. In the 1985, the band consisted only of Rowland and long-standing members Helen O'Hara, who did the violin, and Billy Adams guitar. The band actually broke up in 1987, with Rowland becoming a solo artist. After 2 failed restart attempts, Dexys was reformed by Rowland in 2003 with new members, as well as a few returning members from the band's original lineup, known as Dexys Mark I. And then Dexys released their 4th album in 2012 and a 5th following in 2016. So the song itself has many good stuff about it, and I really wanted to dig in this because when I was watching the video on the screen at this Halloween dance party, I was like, who's Johnnie Ray? Why are they showing clips from the 1950s, it looks like? So here's why. There are various versions of the song, in addition to the main section, feature either a Celtic fiddle solo, intro, or a cappella coda, both based on Thomas Moore's Irish folk song, Believe Me, of All Those Enduring Young Charms. So when you go on YouTube and find the official music video, it starts with that violin solo. And then the main section begins with that Celtic style fiddle played over a drum beat. Then it's like dun 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 dun, with the bass guitar and piano providing accompaniment. The lyrics of the song begin with these lines. Poor old Johnnie Ray sounded sad upon the radio, moved a million hearts in mono. Our mothers cried, sang along. Who would blame them? So, like I said, in the music video, you see references to this Johnnie Ray. We'll talk about who he is in a minute. But just to let you know that the actual 1982 music video was directed by Julian Temple and filmed in the inner south London suburb of Kennington, in the vicinity of the corner of Brook Drive and Hale Street, then Austral Street and Holyoke Road. It'll be cool if any of our members or listeners of our podcast send me a note like, hey, I live there. I either saw them do the video filming or I live there and I know what the road you're talking about. The big did you know about the video was, I was trying to figure out who played the character of Eileen in the video, the lady with the blonde hair, and as well as on the single cover. It's actually played by a female by the name Mare Fahey, and she is the sister of Siobhan Fahey from Bananarama. So there's that connection, Bananarama. So let's talk about why there's archival footage of this Johnnie Ray arriving at London Heathrow Airport in 1954, and it's featured in the beginning part of the video. The interesting thing is when I was dancing last night, my two friends were like, oh yeah, Johnnie Ray, he was like a precursor to Elvis. He was really big, and he's from our town, Mount Oregon, because I live in a state called Oregon in the United States. So I'm like, I got to dig into this. So who was Johnnie Ray? He was John Alvin Ray, born on January 10th, 1927, and then left our earth back on February 24th, 1990. He was an American singer, songwriter, and pianist, very popular in the 1950s. And many critics have actually said he's a major, like I said, influence precursor of rock and roll for his jazz and blues influenced music and his animated stage personality. Even famous Tony Bennett called Ray the quote-unquote father of rock and roll, and historians have noted him as a pioneering figure in the development of the genre. I'm like, I had no idea about who this guy is, so dug in more. Well, he was born, like I said, on January 10th, 1927 in Dallas, Oregon, state where I'm from, to parents Elmer and Hazel. Along with an older sister, Elma, Ray spent part of his childhood on a farm and attended grade school in Dallas, Oregon. He then began playing piano at age 3, amazing, so prodigy, and beginning at age 12, sang in the local church choir. After the United States entered World War II, the family moved to Portland, Oregon, where Ray attended Franklin High School. At age 13, Ray became deaf in his left ear following a mishap that occurred during a Boy Scout ritual called a blanket toss. Interesting. And in later years, he would perform wearing a hearing aid. Surgery was performed on him in 1958, left him almost completely deaf in both ears, although hearing aids helped his condition. Ray has credited his deafness as pivotal to his career and performance style, saying, "My need for sincerity traces back to when I was a child and lost my hearing. I became withdrawn. I had an emotional need to develop a relationship to other people." And then after graduating from high school, Ray worked as a soda jerk, is what they called it. So worked at a soda counter, as a busboy, as a mill worker in Salem, it's our capital here in Oregon. And in the interim, he did jobs playing piano at clubs in Salem and Portland. This is so crazy. He gained a local following singing at small, predominantly African-American nightclubs in Detroit, where he was discovered in 1949 and then signed to OK, it's spelled OKEH Records. It's at that time a subsidiary of Columbia Records. He then rose quickly from obscurity in the U.S. with the release of his debut album, Johnnie Ray, in 1952, as well as a 78 RPM single, both of whose sides reached the Billboard magazine's top Hot 100 chart. One was for Cry, and the other song is The Little White Cloud That Cried. Google it, find it on YouTube. Very good songs. And in 1954, Ray made his first and only major motion picture debut in There's No Business Like Show Business as part of his ensemble cast that included Ethel Merman and Marilyn Monroe, so now I got to watch that. His career in his native United States began to decline in 1957, sadly, and then his American record label dropped him in 1960. Unfortunately, like I think I mentioned it with John Denver many episodes ago. I mean, you can be the top of the top, but when you stop selling records, then the company's like, you know, what good are you? Unfortunately, there's not that loyalty there. He never regained a strong following there, and then he rarely appeared on American television after 1973, although I found a 1977 interview he had done where he sang a couple songs, and he was interviewed by Merv Griffin. So thought that was interesting. And, you know, from what I can just gather, just watching that clip, he's just a very earnest guy, and he tells it like it is. His fan bases included the United Kingdom, Australia, however, remained strong until his death in 1990 of complications from liver failure. British hit singles and albums know that Ray was, quote-unquote, a sensation in the 1950s. The heart-wrenching vocal delivery of Cry influenced many acts like Elvis and was the prime target for teen hysteria in the pre-Presley days. Ray's dramatic stage performances and melancholic songs have been credited by music historians as precursory to later performers ranging from Leonard Cohen to Morrissey. That's pretty impressive. And then for his contribution to the recording industry, Johnnie Ray was actually honored with a star in 1960 on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6201 Hollywood Boulevard. So he does have a star. All right, chart success. So Johnnie Ray's in this On Eileen video. They play this video in heavy rotation in MTV. And actually, the competing channel at that time, VH1, placed the song at number 3 in their 100 greatest one-hit wonders of all time, number 18 in their 100 greatest songs of the 80s, and number 1 in their 100 greatest one-hit wonders of the 80s. My gosh. So while the group had previous number 1 single in the UK with Gino in 1980, On Eileen was their only US hit, as I shared earlier. And as of June 2013, On Eileen had sold 1.33 million copies in the UK. It's probably still rising. The cool thing is, did you know that the song reached number 1 in the United States on the Billboard Hot 100 charts during the week of April 23rd, 1983? Come On Eileen, the song actually prevented Michael Jackson from having back-to-back number 1 hits in the US with Billie Jean at the time, and which was the number 1 single of the previous 7 weeks, while Beat It was the number 1 song the ensuing 3 weeks. So it kind of just inserted itself between the two. So, hey, the power of a good song, and actually, like I said, even a one-hit wonder, I'd take it. It's still, when I was dancing last night, there were, how many of us? Many people that remembered it when I was that age, and youngins that are like probably heard about it from their grandparents, unfortunately. It just made everyone excited to dance. So it has a catchy phrase, great beat, and now I know the backstory of Johnnie Ray. So hopefully you learned something new. If you have anything like a great suggestion for us to do, just send it to any of our social media sites, or just send me an email at misheard, misheard songs@gmail.com, and we might be doing your misheard song lyric next. Till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.